Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Callum of Hearth Remedies. You can use any pronouns for me. I am a holistic nutritionist, herbalism and astrology enthusiast, and of course, a kitchen witch. I also make lots of different kinds of products, bath bombs, soaps, herbal medicines, you name it, I do it. I am making these videos that I can share information with you about well-being, everything that I know to help you from the inside out. A little bit about my personal background with eating whole foods plant-based. I had an eating disorder for many years. It wasn't until I started learning about nutrition a little bit and eating healthy that I was able to nourish my body and see value in that and recover. So that was a big deal for me. And then I kind of switched, like eating vegan sometimes, sometimes not, until 2019. I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and my family members had also been through this. So I had watched them go down that road, and I wasn't willing to do it. I was like, if I can't fix this myself, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I'm just not going to do anything about it, which was not responsible, but I was very traumatized. I didn't want to go through chemo or surgery. I switched to a whole foods plant based diet, and it ended up resolving my cancer. This was really powerful for me, but I will say I'm not trying to say that this is a magical cure for every illness, disease, cancer, anything that people are going through. For me, I was lucky enough that it was early on and I was able to. It was honestly a miracle. You know what I mean? But it did show me the power of nutrition, and it really instilled a passion for me. Okay, so what is whole foods plant based? What does that even mean? Well, I want to be clear that when I'm talking about diet, which I think can be a triggering word for a lot of us, I am not talking about eating a specific foods for a specific amount of time to lose weight or for medical reasons. When I say diet, I'm talking about the food that a person, a community, an animal habitually eats. So we all have a diet. When we're talking about a whole foods plant based diet, we're talking about a lifestyle in which one consumes only whole foods that are plant based. Whole foods are foods that have not been processed, refined, or had ingredients added to them. They're usually found along the perimeter of the grocery store: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds. You think about it as like corn on the cob is a whole food. It was grown and it's in the grocery store. Corn flakes are not a whole food. They've been refined, ultra processed, they've had sugar added, a bunch of other things. So that would not be a whole food. You might be wondering about meat and dairy. Well, they can be whole foods, but they're not plant based. Animal products can be deleterious for our health, so they're excluded. On a whole foods plant based diet, you're eating non processed foods that came from plants. Dr. Grieger, an American physician who advocates for a whole foods plant based diet as the best one for us, came up with a traffic light model that can help us make healthier decisions day to day. It's predicated on the fact that, based on the evidence, the higher our intake of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, mushrooms, herbs, spices, the better our health will be. And this is because these foods are packed with nutrients, all your phytonutrients, all of that good stuff, while having less disease promoting factors. The other factor is that unprocessed foods tend to be healthier than processed foods. This is not a steadfast rule. Grieger explains that the removal of fat from cacao beans to make cocoa powder actually improves the nutritional profile because you're taking out the saturated plant fats that raise cholesterol. And so, cocoa powder, although it's processed, actually is healthier than the plant. There's lots of exceptions to the rule, but in general, unprocessed plant based foods are going to be the healthiest for us. So, what is the traffic light model? We know that with a traffic light, red means stop, yellow means proceed with caution, and green means go. So, in terms of a whole foods plant based diet, green is your unprocessed plant foods. That's going to be eating a salad with all the fresh plants. Yellow is going to be your processed plant foods, and then red is ultra processed and processed animal foods. We can use this model to make decisions. I'll only drink green tea if I can have a little honey in it. Okay, well, honey is a sugar, so that's not great. But if that's the only way that I'll eat the healthful thing, then let's do it. Let's go ahead. So you're eating the green with the yellow in that case. Now, just because a food is on the red list, it doesn't mean you have to exclude it from your life entirely. A lot of us have cultural foods that are meat based. And so it stops us from wanting to go on a whole foods plant based diet because we're like, if I can never have my mom's chicken noodle soup again, I don't want to do this. So maybe a better way to look at it is that could be your once in a while treat food, it could be your special occasion food. It really doesn't matter what you eat on those days, on the random special occasions, once in a while. What matters most is what you're consuming on a day to day basis. And the reality is, if you only eat those red light foods, then you're going to experience consequences from that on a health level. The more unprocessed plant based foods you can consume, the better on a daily basis. And then have the other things, maybe less and less, try to wean them out of your diet, and then just have them, when the craving really hits. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I want a steak, and I'm not going to deny myself a steak, but I'm also not going to eat steak weekly or daily or even monthly. It's going to be that birthday steak. You know what I mean? An example I can think of from my own life is that my partner loves shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie is a traditional British meal and it's made with ground lamb. I made this for my partner recently, but I halved the amount of lamb that was in it and I added lentils as well to the dish. So we can always add more plants. The lamb was still there, so my partner was happy, and the lentils were there, which made me happy. It's just finding different ways to add the healthy thing into your life, and then slowly, if you can, or immediately if you can, taking out those red light foods. This really works for me as someone who used to have an eating disorder. If I restrict myself too much, then I know that I'm just going to swing in the opposite direction and I'm going to either binge because I've been restricting and so these cravings are controlling my life, or I'm going to restrict to the point where everything is so controlled that I end up starving myself. This is no way to live. The traffic light system works for that reason. It doesn't need to be so extreme. We can find a balance in acknowledging that every meal and snack is an opportunity to make a healthy choice, but ultimately, foods are on a spectrum and we get to make decisions that feel the best for us personally. If I want to have a snack and the options are potato chips or an apple and a handful of almonds, okay, well, I know the unprocessed plant based snack of raw almonds and an apple is it's going to satisfy me because it has lots of fiber, but I want to eat the chips. Maybe in that moment I decide, okay, I'm going to eat the chips, but because they're low in fiber and I know that they're not actually going to satisfy my hunger, I'm going to also eat the apple. So, this is a way that you can decide. You have the power to do this however is best for you. Start thinking about how you can incorporate those green light foods into your life. At any moment, you can choose to eat in a way that is healthy without restricting yourself. The reason I steer away from terms like vegan or vegetarian are that they focus on what is excluded. Whole foods plant based focus on what is included, what is actually consumed here. The other issue I have with the term vegan is that it doesn't even necessarily mean that the person is eating well. You can eat a diet that is strictly French fries and beer, and that's a vegan diet, but it's not what I would classify as healthy. With veganism gaining so much popularity over the last few years, a lot of companies have hopped on board. They've started offering all kinds of options that boast that they're plant based or that they have plant based ingredients. The problem here is that these foods are ultra processed. They've added a lot of salt, they've refined them in certain ways so that we find that the nutrients that would have been there if it was a whole food have been completely lost. This can be a trap for a lot of us, especially because we want to eat healthy. We may be choosing these ready made foods because they're plant based, but the reality is they might not have any of the nutrients of the plant. Instead of buying a pre made veggie burger that's been processed to exclude up to 90% of its fiber and has a ton of added salt, you can make one by simply blending chickpeas, some nutritional yeast, maybe tomato paste, with some other vegetables and some oats. And that's it. It's going to be much more healthful because you had a whole foods plant based one that hasn't been refined or processed. If the choice is really between a burger made from animal products versus a pre-made veggie burger, I would say go with the pre-made veggie burger. This is where the traffic light model comes into play. The pre-made veggie burger is a yellow food. The animal burger is a red light food. So if that's the options that we have and we can't access the green light, okay, well, let's go with the yellow. There's so much I could go into about eating whole foods plant-based, but I hope that this at least gives you some perspective into how you could start incorporating it if you haven't already. If you liked this or you learned something, please like and subscribe, share this video. If there's anything that you would like to learn about from me, questions that you have, please let me know. Hopefully I can make some relevant videos. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you have a great day.